With Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. Today, my guest is Steve Osiecki, broker owner of Remax Access. Steve, welcome to the show.
Pat, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Good to be here with you.
Perfect. Okay, I always start off the shows by asking, how did you get into real estate?
I fell into it like everybody else. 1996, I was an exterminator and I was refereeing hockey on the weekends. And I saw an ad in the paper that said 300 down, 500 a month or something like that. And I called and it ended up being a cash for home. We bought the house for cash with a couple of buddies. That transpired to me buying several more houses over the next 4 or 5 years. And I decided to become a real estate agent at that time.
Okay, so once you had X amount of properties with your partners, at that point, what you wanted to buy and sell, and that's why you went to your license?
Initially, I wanted to become an appraiser. So I took all the classes to be an appraiser and I called a guy up that I knew. And I said, hey, can you give me a job? He said, no, unequivocally, with no other direction you can give me for sure. So I said, okay, let me try this real estate agent thing. And I tried it. I really liked it. It was something I felt like I was me and the client. There was no middleman in between. And it just went from there.
Okay. And then starting out as a realtor, from there, did you build up a team?
I did. So first I was a Coldwell Banker for a year. And then I went to Remax in 2002. Shortly thereafter, started a team, very successful in the Northeast. And then subsequently, a couple of years later, I ended up moving to another location in Port Richmond and became a part owner of the firm. And I was on my own.
Okay. Now, what was that transition like? Like, why did you go from a realtor to say, hey, I want a team, to I want to be a broker and run your
at the time, I was, I was a successful agent. And anyone knows, the more successful you are as an agent, the less time you have. And I knew I didn't want to work, 90 hours a week. So I felt like if I became the owner of the company, it would be a way for me to earn some, income and down the road for sure, like over 9 to 5 time.
So it was sort of like like an exit strategy. Where it's not that just grind.
Yeah.
Where if you're an owner, then you're managing people, but it's not that 24/7.
Exactly. I could turn it off, and that's where I was primarily a listing agent. So I would have a lot of buyer leads, and that's how the teams were successful. I was able to provide them with a lot of buyers, and obviously training. That's my big thing as well. Like I've been training and mentoring agents since 2000, and really when I started 2002. Basically, I kind of went right into the team leadership.
Okay, and now you have Remax Access.
Yep.
Spring Garden Street. I guess Northern Liberty / Pensport, right? Now, how many agents do you have underneath you?
Right now, we have about 40 at the firm.
Okay. And what does your day look like when it comes to that? I mean, obviously, you must get a lot of phone calls, right?
No, not really at all. We have, one of the best things about my business is the people that work here. And I have a lot of very experienced, very seasoned brokers and agents that have been trained properly. We don't have a lot of drama or turmoil with the deals. Most of the, at this point, most of the coaching and problem solving I do is on a transaction base. It's short, kind of right to it, because I'm not really too troubled by, my time isn't really monopolized by the office, really. I could be more efficient in my daily affairs.
Okay, great. And as far as training and that kind of thing, what do you guys do for agents, if they want to come and they're newer? That kind of thing.
We always encourage a team or a mentor. Most new agents, and that's a challenge for us, is they need to be on with a mentor. And I think it's part of having the expectations from the beginning. What's asked of that mentor, what's asked of the licensee. That's been our successful plan that worked in the past.
Okay, so if somebody's newer, because you have a lot of experienced agents, so if they're newer, you'll hook them up with like a mentor, that kind of thing, to really guide them along to.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, because I guess in the first 2 or 3 years, you have a 50% dropout.
Yeah, maybe even more. And with the market conditions that they are now, it's even more difficult for sure. Sometimes you always need to bring new agents into the firm. Some of my people have in the last few years retired or aged out of the business. So we're always looking to bring new people on, people with potential for sure.
Okay, so now let's switch the market, because the market is different depending on where you're at.
Yes.
So you could be Philadelphia is one market. You could have the suburbs, another market, South Jersey, another market. And then your agents are typically licensed in PA and New Jersey.
That's correct. Yes. Okay. We do primarily serve Philadelphia, Bucks, Montgomery County, South Jersey, Delaware County, surrounding areas of Philadelphia.
Okay. So as far as the market, what are you seeing? Because obviously interest rates have risen and it's a little bit, I guess, more challenging
Yeah,
for
it's
buyers.
just really thin inventory, very low inventory. Some areas are more dense than others. Philadelphia is such a densely populated city. There's more inventory inside the city limits, but it's really based locally, section to section, block to block. Um, it's hard, and it's hard if you're a first time buyer to buy anything. The money's tight on the investment side. So we do a lot of investment business at the brokerage, and that's all tight. So really the market is low inventory, which means no transactions, no sales for us. So we're hovering now, but we're looking positive for the future.
Right. Okay. So the inventory is what I'm hearing is the biggest challenge that you're seeing, and I guess everybody is seeing as far as
Yeah,
that.
same story. There's one in Bucks County, outside of the city, some parts of Northeast Philly. There could be 10 buyers for every listing. So basically all is principal supply and demand, drive the prices, and that's kind of where we are now for sure.
Okay. And if being in the business for years, managing other agents, what would be, you know, a tip or something that you could, tell agents, hey, this is what you need to do, or some insights in general
Yeah,
in this market.
basically the successful agents that I've seen over the time as the broker, the ones that are successful are the most disciplined. Discipline is really the biggest, asset to have, for sure. Everybody, it's not easy. It's hard. People, this is a struggle. It's hard to get into. It's hard to stay into. So I think marketing yourself to your sphere of influence is probably the most important thing I could advise to agents, whether they're new or old, especially the old. One of the biggest complaints that consumers have is that the realtor did a great job, but I never heard from him again. So developing a really strong database and referral network is probably the most important thing to keep your business flowing, no matter what the conditions of the market are. And we see that here, for sure. We're struggling, but we're not dying.
Right. Okay. So it's, ask for the business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just feel funny about that.
Yeah.
But, hey, if you did a good job, and there's statistics out there saying that, 80% of, buyers and sellers would use that realtor again, but
Yeah.
why don't they?
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
Exactly.
But only, 17 or 20%, whatever those numbers are, they change all the time, actually do
Yeah.
the repeat. So,
100%.
the database, follow up, call, those kind of things,
Yeah.
and be a client for life as
Yeah,
well.
and develop new avenues. Like networking is very important, whether you deal with builders or investors. That's another plan. You have to change your marketplace. If you're solely fixed on one, segment, whether it's like home buyers, first time home buyers, and people shy away from listings, I think you need both to make everything successful. You can't just go down one path. There's just not enough to go around for everybody.
Okay. So now, if somebody wanted to know more about Remax Access, they may be a realtor
Yeah.
or a buyer seller because you are a realtor. You do,
Yeah.
you do list properties
Yeah.
and sell that kind of thing. How would they get a hold of you?
They can call my cell, which is 215-284-2892. I'd be glad to speak with you about coming to Remax or any clients that might be interested in buying or selling their home.
Okay, great. Steve, well, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks,
Some
Pat.
really good insight. And that's the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe below. Super important. I have some great guests, some really good topics lined up for you. Also, leave a comment. Tell me some things that you like, you didn't like, or some show topics you want me to cover in the future. Remember, this show is everything real estate. No limits. Hope you enjoyed the show and have a great